Welcome to Luxury Icons, the marketing and PR podcast created by the Luxury Communications Council. I'm Rosie Shepherd, the founder of the Luxury Communications Council, the world's only membership network dedicated to advancing the global luxury industry by uniting, supporting and championing marketing communication leaders. This podcast is dedicated to meeting some of the industry's most prolific leaders, delving into the challenges and opportunities that we face together. We are here at Cannes Lions, where the Luxury Communications Council is an official partner. And today I'm meeting Mathilde Delhoume-Debreu, who's the Global Brand Officer of LVMH. Now this week, Mathilde has been the jury president for the Luxury and Lifestyle Lion, a huge honour leading a panel of jurors to judge work submitted from all over the world. Now, as we know, LVMH is a domineering force for the luxury world. They have 70 luxury brands in the ever-growing portfolio of maisons. This includes brands such as Louis Vuitton, Loewe, Givenchy, Fendi, jewellery brands such as Tiffany & Co, Bulgari, drinks brands such as Dom Perignon, Hennessy, Veuve Clicquot, and so much more, including Sephora and Belmond. The list goes on. Now, Mathilde spent the majority of her career in FMCG at Procter & Gamble in France, later Switzerland and Belgium. And while she did study marketing, she also is a trained engineer. She joined LVMH in 2017 as the Brand Equity Director and was swiftly promoted to Global Brand Officer. Now, we're especially delighted to have Mathilde join us today because she's actually done very, very few interviews. So thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, Mathilde. To begin with, Global Brand Officer, what does that mean? What do you actually get up to?
Well, we and I would say every chief brand officer in every of our 75 maisons are the trustee of the brand DNA. Mm-hmm. So what is it to be the trustee of the brand DNA is making sure that you keep on pushing creativity while staying faithful to the DNA of the maison. Mm-hmm. And as a global brand officer for LVMH, I'm here with my teams as a center of expertise to help those individual CMO to be able to do that.
And you've had this extraordinary career taking FMCG skills to luxury. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? What's led you to where you are today?
Well, it's true. I've 30 years mm-hmm. of working at Procter & Gamble, FMCG. And then in 2017, I moved to luxury with LVMH. So I think it was guided by a passion for brands that now I call maisons mm-hmm. at LVMH, but this was at the center of what I love doing. A passion for the customers. And if we elaborate more, I will tell you the difference in the way we think about the customers in FMCG and the way we think about customers in luxury. And a passion also for everything that is creativity. So these three passions were both in FMCG and in luxury. They are very different, but they are on those foundations. So this was what guided my career overall, these three passions.
Were there principles that you were able to bring from FMCG to luxury?
Yeah, there are some principles that you can bring. The execution may be very different. Mm-hmm. So the principle of how do you build a brand are the same, the fundamental principle, but there are nuances that you apply in luxury. So understanding your brand DNA, understanding your brand purpose, and really the word purpose as being the reason why your brand exists for the customers you want to serve. I'm not talking CSR, saving the planet when I talk purpose. It's really a very precise reason for being for a brand. So this is something you need to define very clearly in FMCG, but also in luxury. The values of the brand, the personality of the brand. What is your unique product expertise? Why people should believe in this product expertise. This is things that are common. And when you are the trustee of a brand, you really need to have this at LVMH, we call it a brand platform, which is like a lighthouse that guides you. And when you have a clear lighthouse, you can start being creative. You can start trying to go left, trying to go right, because you have always this lighthouse to guide you. So this is something that exists in FMCG. This is something that exists in luxury. When you are in luxury, it's slightly different. Well, I could even say it's completely different. If you just give what the consumer needs, you won't stay long in luxury, because
utility, yeah.
what the customer wants is to be surprised. I say to be elated, to get things that the customer would not even imagine it's possible. So how do you create this surprise? And it's a difference between a need and a desire. So I'm not solving problems, I'm creating desirability. And so this is a big difference, how you approach the customer.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. In your career, there's probably been some incredible moments. What would you say are your most proudest moments or your personal highlights?
My personal highlights are not related to me. They are related to the success of the people I was privileged to coach, to train. So there is nothing that makes me prouder than an agency that wins a lion for the work we've done together, or for someone who makes it to the top as a CEO of a big company. These are my proudest moments. So it's not proudest moment about me. It's a proudest moment of people that achieve something in which I see myself as having played a little role.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit mama-like. So mama is very proud. And these are the proudest moment, not moments that are linked to me.
I actually asked all of our guests on the podcast what's their superpower. So would you say that that's your superpower, sort of that nurturing, mentoring?
Yeah, I think the superpower is this. I think it's nurturing, mentoring, making people grow. And because you had sent me a few questions to think about, I think the other one I have is to try to make the complex simple. So to distill complex thoughts, complex concepts, and make them simple for people to understand. And at the end, it's how I train, how I coach the people to try to make the complex simple, not simplistic, because that's the danger. When you try to make too simple, you become simplistic, and that's a big pitfall. So this is it. But at the end, you're right. It's probably to make sure that people are growing, are learning something, and this is the objective.
You say you're like a mama, but you are also a mum, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
You have some daughters.
I have two daughters. One is celebrating her birthday today. She's 34, and she lives between Paris, Geneva, and the other one is 30, and she lives in Boston. And they are two very successful women in their careers. One is marketing director, and she's currently experiencing the market role. She has been doing in global roles, global strategic roles, regional roles. She has been in China also as a marketing director. Now she's in France as a marketing director, and she is a brand builder at heart. And so this is the older one, and the little one, and I'm sorry, she's 30 years old, but I will always call her the little one. Sorry, Alex, you are going to hate me to call you the little one, but I'm very proud of her. She has chosen to be a designer. So she's a UX designer at Sonos. She studied in the US, so she did Rhode Island School of Design, and she took some liberal art at Brown. And it has been 10 years. She has been in the US, and she's doing design.
Oh my gosh, you must be so proud. It sounds like they've very much followed in your footsteps and inherited your creativity.
Well, they have followed their own footsteps because they are very determined in what they want to do. But I think what I try to show them is that they needed to have a job they had passion for. I always told them, I say, find a job. You can do whatever you want. But every morning, when the alarm clock goes on, you need to be happy to get up and go to work. if every morning dragging out of your bed saying, oh, it's such a chore to go to work, it's because you have done, you are not doing what you should be doing.
Yeah.
So this is the only thing I've asked them to find as a job.
Yeah.
They could have been a cook, they could have been nurse, they could have been whatever they wanted to do, as long as they were happy to go to work.
Well, it's really nice to hear that actually someone like you can have such a big role, can then clearly sort of inspire the next generation. I've got 3 children under 6, and I'm slightly worried that whilst I'm sort of trying to do the juggle, I'm not inspiring them, you know. But anyway, I'm going to ask for you for lots of tips on that juggle later on.
And I'm going to give you a story. I gave it on another podcast, but it's a long time ago, so probably people may have forgotten. So my older daughter, the one who is celebrating her 31st birthday today, one day she was seeing me go to work, and she said, Mom, why are you going to work? Why don't you stay with me? And then I did a stupid answer. I say, you see, darling, Mom need to go to work to make a bit of money, because every day you go to the park and you go to the carousel, and we have to pay for the carousel. So, you know, this is what money is for, is to buy some things. And then she looked at me and said, and if I stop going on the carousel, will you stop working?
Oh, no.
Stupid.
Clever girl, to be fair.
Stupid answer, Mom. And then I corrected it. I said, darling, you know what? This is not right. You should keep on going on the carousel, because going to work is, I love it as much as you love going on the carousel.
Oh, yeah, great. Okay, nice.
So, and this was the beginning of our story about do what you love, work on
I
what you
love
love.
it. That's great. Okay, well, I will start saying that to my children, because I'm definitely saying, you know how you like toys, this is how we pay for them. So I need to change my narrative.
Yes,
Very
exactly.
good tips. Thank you so much. Going back to LVMH, I mean, it's indisputably a formidable force in luxury, leading the way, setting the trajectory. You obviously have so many admirers from afar, but what is it like on the inside, the mindset, the magic? I can imagine the energy.
I think what is great at LVMH is they are the art of crafting dreams. So in the art, you have lots of emotion, lots of sensoriality. So this is one. Crafting. Craft is at the core. And again, it's unique to luxury and dreams. As I was saying, we are about desire. We are not about just functional. So the mission is very clear, and the values are also very clear. Creativity and innovation is the first value of the group. So because it's one of my passion, having that as a first value was very important. The second value is search for excellence. And this can be something that people may not like, but having been raised in the French education system, this is very, very French, the search for excellence. So not being perfect is not acceptable. So you need to go for perfection.
Yeah.
And what is funny is in FMCG, people were always telling me that I was too perfectionist, and I should accept to do the 80 for 20. So the 20% of things that gets 80% of things done, and then forget about the 20% imperfect, it will be okay. In luxury, if you do that, well, you don't stay long. You are out of the door very quickly, because really everything is in the detail. Craft is in the detail. So this search for excellence was also resonating for me. And the third one was entrepreneurship. So you just take risk. You are accountable for the risk you take. But you are not going to be tangled in a process where you need to justify why you do things, which in the big FMCG companies, process is really important, because you need to align so many departments, etc., that sometimes process takes the lead over entrepreneurship. So at LVMH, entrepreneurship is the third value. And there is a fourth value, which is engagement.
Okay.
So we want people to feel engaged in a couple of things: sustainability, D&I, which is really important also for the group.
And those elements that you've just talked about, would you say sort of they're the sort of common threads and essential ingredients for those really successful brands?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay,
exactly.
Great.
But they express it each time in their own way. So it's not going to be a cut and paste when you do positioning for those brands. if they come to me with a positioning saying, creativity, search for excellence, entrepreneurship, I tell them, go back to work, because these are the value of LVMH. What is your unique take on those values as a Loro Piana, as a Dom Perignon, as a Belmont endorsement brand for hospitality? They are going to articulate their own values inspired by LVMH value, but in their own unique way.
We're obviously celebrating. Hoping you had a very, very fun evening. You were awarded the Grand Prix, LVMH, for their partnership that changed everything. This is huge. This is very exciting. But the thing is, that piece of work was huge. I mean, it was leaning into culture in a way that no one had done before. It really did change the face of how sports sponsorships went about. And just in case anybody doesn't know, and I'll just say it quickly and then you can elaborate a bit more, but LVMH used their entire portfolio, or many, many brands, many maisons, under their portfolio. They dressed the artists, they dressed the French athletes, they made trunks, they made medals. It was just so beautiful. I guess this example's been discussed at length anyway, even before you were winning at Cannes this week, especially by us. Obviously, we were very much sort of bringing together all of the luxury leaders here in Cannes. One of the events we were doing for NBC Universal, we were actually really discussing quite at depth this sort of intersection between luxury and culture. And the question that kept coming back to again and again was, should luxury brands be leading culture or reflecting it? Do you have a view on that?
Both.
Both.
In fact, a luxury brand can inspire culture and should be inspired by cultures, so in the broad sense. So it's really a give and receive, with always being careful that when you receive, you give credit. So I think it goes really both ways. The example of the Olympics is probably the best embodiment of the art of crafting dreams, because there was dreams of the Olympians. It was then captured in a narrative which was artisans of all victories. So artisan was craft at the center, and victory was a hope that all those athletes were having. And we were also paying homage to our own artisans behind everything. And it was also the perfect embodiment of what I call the 4 C's. Okay. So first, creativity. And the creativity, which is, how do you disrupt a norm? How do you disrupt traditional sports sponsorship and turn it into a creative partnership with the International Olympic Committee, and working hand in hand to really elevate the game through the second C, craft. Okay. So how do you bring craft? So it was just another medal. It was a medal designed like a jewel by Chaumet, and you can find some of the iconic codes of Chaumet, which is a solarity, and in the middle you had the fragment of the Eiffel Tower. Amazing. It was the craft of the trunks, of the Louis Vuitton trunks that were transporting the medals, that was also transporting the torch. It was the craftsmanship of the tray on which the medals were presented, which was Louis Vuitton at its best in the design of the tray. It was the craftsmanship of the couture, with Christian Dior dressing Aya, dressing Lady Gaga, dressing Céline Dion, dressing this beautiful soprano singing the Marseillaise on top of the Grand Palais.
I mean, it really was a masterclass, actually, and I think it's an example that will be cited for years and years to come. I'm just going to give a little bit of background to some of our listeners on Cannes Lions, because actually many of the luxury industry aren't that engaged with the Cannes Lions. We've only been doing the luxury and lifestyle category for the last 2 years. LCC got involved with it last year. So there's sort of various categories which you can enter, including experience, brand storytelling, partnerships, etc. And there are 4 levels of awards, so bronze, silver, gold, of course, and then this Grand Prix, which is the one that this campaign we're mentioning was awarded. It's not like the sort of normal setup, in the sense that the jurors actually have discretion to award many lions, or actually none at all. So it's sort of not like a first, second, third sort of situation. I'd love to hear a bit more about the process. Obviously, you're locked in a room with 9 other jurors. What's sort of the scale of the process? What did those deliberations look like? What was going on?
So the process started with pre-judging. So we had to prejudge the 181 entries that were submitted, that consisted usually in a presentation image, a case study of 2 minutes, 2 minutes 30, some supporting images. I would say that reviewing each case study was about 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, this is
Okay.
extensive.
So it was quite extensive. Particularly, I think, and what was great is, I'll talk about the great jury that did it, is that when we gathered on Monday morning, everyone knew the case, all the cases. So everyone had done a very deep homework about it. So prejudging, and out of this prejudging, the Lions team kind of did the top 30 brands or 30 projects that were submitted with the highest rating. And from that, we started shortlisting it, and we gave to each juror a possibility to bring back a case they had seen in the prejudging that was not part of this list of 30.
Ah, so sort of lifeline. Okay,
A kind
nice.
of golden ticket.
Yes,
If
exactly.
they had a passion and if they had given a high grade to something that was not in the final pack, they could bring it back.
Yeah,
And then
makes
we
sense.
could discuss it and re-engage in it.
Okay.
And so from the shortlist, we were still given a number to reach on the shortlist. So we were told 17 to 18, it would be good to cut almost by half. And then to cut almost by half also to get to the Lions.
Yeah.
So we didn't have an infinite number of Lions to distribute. We had 7.
Okay.
And we had some healthy debate during the jury room on which one, and making some tough choices. But what guided us was, again, one, creativity. How do you disrupt the norm? If an idea was beautifully executed but had been done before by the brand or another luxury brand, it was fine to stay in the shortlist. Okay? So then the quality of the craft. Was it deserving of a craft for luxury or luxury for craft, call it the way you want. So we were also looking at the craftsmanship that was behind the communication or the experience. And then we also look at what kind of reaction you were elating on the customer. And were you having a wow? Nobody had done that before.
Yeah.
I'm wowed. So that was also the third. So again, and then last but not least, the impact on culture. So we were saying, will the world be different after this or not? And it can be in some little ways, but it was really important, Would we have moved the scale on the way people see this type of category? Did they enter into from advertising to entertainment? So we were looking at the cultural shift also as something important. So that was a process. Then came the jury. And the jury was really great because very diverse.
Yes.
So we had the privilege to have 2 fashion designers. We had Tebe Magugu from South Africa, and we had Naya Violeta from Brazil. So they were bringing their perspective of artistic director, actually creating real pieces for luxury, having their own fashion house. We had Kenya Hunt, who is the chief editor of Elle, so bringing a journalistic point of view or cultural point of view to the party. We had 4 chief creative officer. We had Tillman, we had Julien, we had Christiana from Le Pub. So we had those 3 people. We had a strategist, chief strategy officer with Clément from BETC. And we had a craft person with Constanza. So, it was really interesting because we had the full spectrum to give an opinion on each case. And everyone was really bringing the expertise and the perspective.
And were there any big surprises for you? Was there anything that someone championed that you were quite surprised about, or any brands that sort of really approached luxury in a way that you weren't expecting?
To be absolutely honest, in the 181 entries, there were 50% of what I call average ideas, good ideas, but average. And so this was quite easy. Then you were having a few ideas or a few cases that were not luxuries. They had nothing to do with luxury, but were piggybacking on luxury.
Okay.
And on this one, we agreed from the beginning that we should not even look at it because this is not luxury. And we applaud the creativity of beers, of mayonnaise, of cars, which are just normal cars. So they are right to promote themselves, piggybacking on luxury. But this is not because you piggyback that you are.
Yes.
So this is something that we decided not to look at.
Mayonnaise, love it, hilarious.
Nice
try.
there was a case on mayonnaise, and I applaud. But,
great, love it.
Sorry. As I say, we rewarded disruption of creativity while staying true to the brand DNA. So each time there was a disruption, but the DNA, we were scratching our head and saying, but this is not the DNA of the brand. What are they doing? And so this one was a kind of straight elimination. Then the power to craft stories, experiences that were just, as I say, so surprising and so beautifully done, but while being deep, really deep, insightful, relevant, not stunts. You know, the kind of superficial stunt that sometimes can give you a lion. We say, not for us. So this is really where we started sorting out what was shortlisting, what was not shortlisted.
It was so interesting. LVMH had a lot of shortlisted entries as
Yeah.
well. Did you have to leave the room? Because
Yes.
you didn't mark your own homework.
Oh, yes. So in all the case study, I was leaving the room right away, even starting discussion. And because there was 9 jurors in the case when they didn't have interest, because for the Olympics, 2 people, one person from Publicis and one person from BETC, even if they were not directly involved, but because they were belonging to the holding companies that were involved, they were also leaving the room.
Okay.
So everyone having skin in the game could not stay in the room.
That makes sense.
So I spent a lot of time in the corridor.
I was to say, like, you must have not been there for half of
like
it.
the anxious dad waiting. But each time I was delegating the president role to one of the jurors.
Ah, okay.
And to make sure that everyone had a chance to be a president, they took turn. So
great.
So that
Lovely.
was great.
Okay, so let's just hone in on some of the pieces of work quickly. The Ritz-Carlton, hospitality winning creative work. That's incredible and quite rare. Like, that's really exciting. Can you tell us about what you loved about that one?
What we loved, because it was disrupting the traditional advertising for hospitality. It was getting into entertainment. So as a sudden, from ad to entertainment. And we all know the beautiful ads that all luxury hospitality are able to do, you know, beautiful landscape, beautiful food experience. And as a sudden, they did this first collaboration with Late Checkout. Then they staged this film, which was a little bit Wes Anderson-like. So you are thinking about Grand Budapest Hotel, where a client and his children are going to experience 24 hours at the Ritz-Carlton with everything you expect from high hospitality, every wishes being anticipated. And this is what was great. So, and also the way to appeal to a younger generation. So this is what not the traditional hospitality for the silver generation. It was also something resonating with a younger generation.
Yeah.
So for all these reasons, plus the results, because there were also results on their brand image, results on their rate of occupancy, and of course results about the buzz around their collaboration. But not just buzz, you know, actual business results, actual impact on image.
Amazing. No, and that quite rightly won a gold lion. As you say, the concept of sort of a collaboration where you create a capsule collection isn't anything new. But I think it was the long form of their piece of work that they created that, exactly as you say, like it was like a movie. And actually, in our age of where we're constantly flicking, this sort of form, this art of creating something a bit longer and a bit more considered and a bit more stops disrupts your day sort of and gives an entire moment, whilst also not being plug, actually being really generous. And as you say, going into the entertainment business, I felt like a few of the ones that we really liked, or you guys really liked, were sort of playing in that space.
And you say two things which are really interesting. You talk about the collaboration is nothing new. And it's true, we saw a lot of what I call the collaboration disease. And luxury is not just about collaboration. So we were also very careful when there was collaboration to say it needs to be a multiplying collaboration. Is 1 + 1 = 10. It's not one borrowing from the other or 1 + 1 = 2, because then there is no surprise. So the beauty of the Ritz-Carlton at late checkout was a 1 + 1 = 10. The beauty of the partnership with the Olympic Games, the Olympics and Paralympic Games for LVMH, was a 1 + 1 = 1,000.
And more.
And more, because of the cultural impact.
Yeah.
When it was just a collab, another collab, I think we said it was not shortlist worthy.
Okay.
And we don't want to summarize luxury to collaboration. Okay, you need to have the magic. What do you add on top? So I think that's one thing. Then you talk about the long format, and that's really interesting because I've heard on the Croisette and here on Le Palais the power of 1 second. So now the customers, the viewers, the audience is going to absorb content in 1 second, and at the end they will be able to add all the seconds to create an image for a brand. I'm sorry, I don't believe in that. I still believe in the power of storytelling. Mm-hmm. If I tell you once upon a time, you won't have the story. And then if I tell you one day there was a princess, and we expect the customers to gather all those seconds of attention into something meaningful, into something desirable, this is very dangerous for luxury. So we believe in the power of long format, of course complemented with short format, don't get me wrong. But storytelling is an art, and it should not be cut in seconds.
Well, everyone should be following those rules. You've heard it here. What, just staying on the work for one more example, because this is why we're here. Tiffany Blue was wonderful. Bottega Veneta also won. Prada won. What was your favourite? What?
Oh, it's difficult. You have to choose among your children.
You're right. Okay.
So, and I can, of course, I can talk about Tiffany, but it's an LVMH brand. But I think the work that the Tiffany & Co. Maison did was remarkable. Jean Schlumberger was a key designer of the Tiffany Maison, had a full collection on the ocean, on sea animals. So this was a continuation of the DNA, plus the color. And so what they created were products. They had a full holistic exploitation in the boutique, in the flagship boutique in New York, on the walls with out of home, in social. So it was a full activation. And at the end, the results are there in the sense that they managed to protect the ocean of the equivalent of the face of the United States, and they are going to keep on to meet their sustainability goal as expected. So this one is one with a real impact. Prada is a great example, which is it's a fragrance brand, and it's not the traditional 30-second advertising. It's really a story that builds in the Luna Rossa sailing ship that they have, and how they got Jack to experience what sailing is with Prada. And he say, I was expecting sailing, I ended up flying, and with the Prada story built in.
So just for anyone who hasn't seen that, that's Jake Gyllenhaal actually joined the crew of the Luna Rossa, which is the boat that Prada enters into the America's Cup. And actually, I've been on the Prada chaser boat at the America's Cup in another life when I was looking after Peroni. It was one of the most extraordinary experiences. But what you see is Jake actually really, this must have been a piece of work that took a long time. He trained. I mean, it was really sort of very immersive of him. It went completely completely beyond the sort of, well, like not even comparable to the sort of normal celebrity endorsement plaster your face. It was really powerful. Continue. Sorry, I interrupted.
No,
I just
but I
wanted to
think it's
ensure
good
we had
that
context.
because I've been so immersed in this
Yes,
case, so,
exactly.
and we have discussed it a lot. So we like the disruption it did. Yves Saint Laurent, they did something a bit different. They did Abuse is Not Love, and it's a film that has an education purpose about teaching the first sign of abuse that may lead to domestic violence. Okay. And it was done in South Africa, where domestic violence is a big issue. And it was done very subtly. And it is a training for young women to be able to detect the first sign of abuse that could end up in tragic consequences at a later stage. So this one was interesting because this was more on the, we granted it storytelling things, but it is also D&I. And between Tiffany and YSL, we say, can luxury play a bigger role on those big important matter? And so the answer is yes, but it needs to be relevant versus the brand that carries this message. So this was also an interesting one. You don't jump on a cause just to give you a good conscience. It needs to align with what your brand stands for. So YSL was a really interesting one also. So Prada,
incredibly impressive.
You know, two perfume brands taking two different approach. One, the entertainment, so disruptive through entertainment. One, bringing a more D&I approach, which was also very interesting.
But both going back to what you said about having a long-lasting impact on the world,
Yes.
like, you know,
Yeah,
that you couldn't be more literal with that.
And then you had Loewe on TikTok, which was also really interesting because can luxury do TikTok? And I think Loewe found a unique voice to do TikTok in a way that preserves the luxury angle of the brand, but in a way that is relevant for TikTok. So this was also awarded. I was not in the jury room again when
the
this
corridor.
was discussed, but this is really what they liked in the case. And then there was Bottega Veneta, the everlasting logo, which was an installation in Shanghai of 20,000 books. And people were going through this park and they could take books, and the books were a book of a Chinese poetess that is disabled. So a woman poetess disabled in China writing a book, and people were having, there was a Bottega Veneta logo, and people could just take a book and take it with them. And it was the idea of, in fact, visibility and being present is sometimes through disappearing. So it's all the discretion of the Bottega Veneta brand and the contrast between visibility and invisibility. That was
it was a beautiful metaphor.
Yes.
Sort of they were giving
Absolutely.
these books, and then the more that people took, the less Bottega was visible. Really, really smart. So just to be really clear, the Bottega Veneta logo was written out with these books, and then passers-by came along. And but yeah, and also very confident. And actually, China's all about logos. So actually, really like quite a bold thing to be like, you know,
making the logo disappear.
Yeah, really smart.
And
I liked that a lot. Yeah,
that was also quite an elegant one.
This I mean, it's unbelievable creativity. This, I mean, it just blows my mind. Do you think creativity is something you can teach?
No.
No. Oh, okay.
No, I think creativity is something which needs to stay instinctive. And then after you practice.
Okay.
So I think there is at the basics an instinct, and you practice creativity, and the more you practice, probably the more creative you become. I think what you can teach is to appreciate creativity. So I think the maker of creativity is a unique gift. And this is where all those young lions, creatives that are here, they have this gift, they have this passion. And then in clients, you have clients that are very creative and clients that are less creative, but as long as they respect creativity and are able to recognize creativity, even when at the beginning the creativity is not perfect, even if the creativity needs to be adjusted to your brand, not killing creativity. So No, I think you cannot train creativity, but you can train people to appreciate creativity and recognize it, even when it's not perfect at first glance.
It's so interesting because obviously the luxury space at the moment, we're not having the best time. You know, it's a challenging ecosystem at the moment across the board. Do you think creativity can save the day? Is that going to be the lifeline?
Since 2019, most companies have almost doubled their revenues. So it's just 22 and 23 have been crazy years. So you have seen an abnormal growth, double-digit crazy growth, and now we are back to a normalization. And if you look at the curve of revenues of all those luxury companies, if you erase this abnormality, you are still on a big growth versus 2019.
Okay.
Then I think what will save the day is creativity and craft, because this one will remain. If we really kind of keep on disrupting in the DNA of the maison, if we keep on crafting the most beautiful objects and experiences, luxury is still alive and well alive. The thing that could damage luxury is if we sacrifice on craft, if we sacrifice on creativity, and if we do it in a way that is cultural deaf, and then luxury will be in trouble. But for the moment, I think the luxury maisons that are walking this talk, they still have a healthy growth in front of them. But we just need to readjust from those two crazy years, 2022, 2023, post-COVID. And we need to recognize that the current world is in poly-crisis, and lots of people are holding their breath. But I think the desire for creativity and craft is still alive.
Oh, absolutely. We're on the final day of Cannes. Sigh of relief. Everyone's very, very tired. What's next for you for the year ahead? What are your big moments coming up?
Well, I think we have always great creative ideas and great maisons to keep on growing. So that's the beauty of this job. There is absolutely no routine. We have all the media opportunities and content to develop. We have new customer research to invent. And we have to keep on learning and exploring innovation. AI, lots of people talk about AI. What I like in Cannes this year is people are in peace with AI. So it's no longer the kind of big monster everyone should be afraid of. It's probably the best assistant we can have. At LVMH, we believe human is at the core of everything. But we have fantastic assistants that can help us do things more efficiently and more effectively. As long as humans stay at the core, stay leading, we are good. So all these are exciting territories that we will keep on exploring. And I don't have a program day by day, you know.
Exciting.
I have the best job in the world.
You have the best job in the world. One final question for you, Mathilde, which is one I ask all of my guests. What is your ultimate luxury?
Time. And it's why you need to enjoy 1 minute at a time, 1 day at a time. You know, life is precious. And make sure that the most important thing in life is your time. You spend it wisely, and you don't waste it.
Very wise words. Thank you so much, Mathilde, for coming. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us for Luxury Icons. This has been brought to you by the Luxury Communications Council in conjunction with Trapdoor Productions. If you'd like more information on the Luxury Communications Council, please visit our website, luxurycommunicationscouncil.com.